The world felt the first pinch of oil shortage in the early 1970s. Just 2 years after the peak of U.S. oil production, Americans were waiting in fuel lines to get rationed gas for unheard of prices. The newly formed oil cartel OPEC wanted to flex its political muscle and show the world what the future of oil was going to look like. In response to the Yom Kippur War of 1973, they raised world oil prices from $3 a barrel to $5 overnight. By the end of the decade, a barrel of crude cost $40, and the U.S. and Europe were going into economic shock. After a century of rampant industrial growth fueled by cheap oil, the world was forced to acknowledge the limitations of global petroleum supplies. The peak of U.S. oil in 1971 set the stage for the oil shocks of the decade. Following the shocks, new wells were discovered and the technology for offshore drilling became economically feasible. But now, discoveries are tapering off and consumption is growing uncontrollably. OPEC nations control 75% of world oil reserves. The U.S. Department of Energy predicts that world oil will peak in 2037, but others say that it may have already happened. We don't know for sure, but we do know that as supplies shrink ever smaller and demand grows, there will be price shocks, fuel shortages, and oil war.